Hi everybody, how are you? It's Mike Andrew, once again providing a short video with practical insights as it applies to business and leadership. You know, there's one skill, one executive leadership management skill that I put very high on my list, and I'm surprised I haven't spoken about it more often. It's about the ability and the confidence to ask the simple question, the dumb question, just to ask questions. I've talked a lot in the past about executive presence, your leadership presence, and one big way, in my opinion, to elevate your presence as a leader, as a manager, as an executive, is to have the confidence and the ability to ask questions, especially in meetings. Ask those questions where maybe other people might have been hesitant. Oftentimes, we're afraid to ask questions. You know, we throw out acronyms all the time, the acronyms that relate to our company, yet people may not have the question, or maybe they don't necessarily relate to your question. They could be talking about ROI. Now, we all know ROI means return on investment, but you know, I think it's a great question to ask, can you define what do we mean by ROI in this case? Because there's a number of different ways to calculate ROI. So when they throw something out, you know, one of the big terms in finance is EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. What does that mean? Do you know why that's a significant financial metric in a company? We should be very clear on that because companies present those results on a quarterly and yearly basis. We should know why something like EBITDA is important, or how it's different from operating income or net income. You've heard me say in the past, I love this quote, every time you speak, you are auditioning for leadership. One great way to audition for leadership is to have that ability and have that confidence in a room to ask those questions. That raises your level of, in my opinion, executive presence. I think of a few people that I know that are very wealthy, self-made millionaires, and there's one thing they have in common. They have that ability to ask questions. I think of the times I've spent with them, and they would just ask me question after question about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, you know, everything about my life and career. And it would dawn on me that, wait a minute, I'm doing all the talking, they're doing all the questioning, but they were genuinely interested. And sure enough, these people from different industries became self-made. Look at board directors, board of directors. What do? They get together once a quarter for one day to get caught up in the state of the business. So they have a better handle, get their arms around what's happening with the business. And they do it by asking questions, by probing, and by gathering that information through their questions so they're able to provide guidance and direction or make decisions. Even at the board level, they're very good at asking questions because they have to be. I used to work for a company a number of years ago where I would interview people to come into the company from the outside at the vice president level or above. And I was surprised at how many of these executives would come in and interview for this VP or senior VP role. And they'd be looking at this job, this company, coming from a different country. So they're looking at moving to a new country, bringing their family to a new country, looking at the nature of the company, the role and responsibilities, the mandate of the role, the organization, the culture. And I'd be waiting for them during the interview to ask me questions. So at the end of the interview, I would ask them, give them an opportunity to ask me questions. And I was amazed at how many people would say, no, I think we covered it all. I couldn't hire that person if they couldn't have that conversation with me. It's like, you know, I expect if I were interviewing someone to work at a coffee shop to serve coffee, I expect them just to answer questions, but I expect people at the executive level to ask questions back so they can make an informed decision. There's an old TV show back in the United States, very, very popular, very famous, called Columbo. Columbo was a detective, and every episode he was solving a major crime. And Columbo didn't look good. I mean, he had an old raincoat, his hair was always disheveled, and the criminal always thought he had Columbo fooled, because Columbo would just scratch his head and keep asking dumb question after dumb question, and the criminal would say, I don't have to worry about this guy. Well, every dumb question got Columbo closer to solving the crime. That's what made him so popular. So asking good questions is a great way to elevate yourself as a leader. It's a great way to elevate your presence as a manager, as an executive, as a professional. And how do you ask questions? If I had to pick one skill to ask good questions, one skill, it's listening, listening well. If you listen well, it's amazing. If we listen well, it's amazing how many questions we can conjure up from listening to what someone has to say. There's always the relating the question back to the purpose or objective, or asking the so what, the implications, the now what do we do next? Tell me more, I don't understand. You know, I take a lot of pride, if I'm in meetings and I don't understand something, I'll just say, I don't understand. Because we're all smart enough that if it's clear, we'll understand it, but if it's not clear, and that tell me more, I don't understand, is usually something that someone's afraid to ask. But have the confidence to ask those questions. And there's always the what if, you know, the creative, the innovative, what if, you know, the possibilities. Anyway, just to summarize, the significance of asking questions in business to demonstrate your leadership, your presence, your confidence is something that I highly recommend and I think will serve you well. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.